Phil Phails. Whoa, Phil Phails. Welcome to Phil Phails. My name is Philip Jones, and today I'm joined by Terry Cortes Vega. She is a Dharmacharya. You want to wave at everybody? They're in these cameras.
Dharmacharya wave.
Yeah, Dharmacharya. And you're the only Dharmacharya in the middle of America.
That's right.
Right here, you're looking at her.
In person.
In the flesh. Today, Phil fails at being a Buddha. How did we come to that? I was like, we should do Buddhism, and you said success, but we came upon being a Buddha because
you can't fail at being a Buddha.
So Phil fails at being a Buddha is a impossible task.
Right. Right. But we can always try.
We can try to fail at being a Buddha.
Right. And we can think we have failed at being a Buddha, but we can't do it.
We can't do it. Why is that?
Because every failure is an opportunity to learn. So every failure is a teaching. The Buddha said, don't run away from suffering. Don't run away from failing, because you've got a lot to learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't like that teaching very much because we want to hide from our suffering. We want to play on our phones, and we want to do social media, and we want to read books. We want to meditate. We want to eat, drink, smoke. We don't want to fail. Mm-hmm. And so we do everything we can to keep from failing. And that's what the Buddha said is a mistake. That if you just stop and embrace your suffering, what you think you're failing at, you can learn something from it.
Yeah.
And then, so it's impossible to fail at being a Buddha. So you are a Buddha.
I'm a Buddha.
You're a Buddha.
Nice.
Yes. Yes. I've been wanting to be a Buddha all my life, and now I am one.
Yes. I'm going to tell everybody.
Tell everybody. That'll be good.
I'm a Buddha.
There you
go. That's funny. I felt, feels good. Sitting here in my Buddha-ness. I'm already sitting like a Buddha.
Sitting like a Buddha, you are.
Dang. Got it. Let's talk a little bit about your lineage. I know you because I sat with Plum Blossom Sangha.
Right.
About what we said like 5-6 years ago before COVID, down the street every Sunday.
Right.
From like 4 to 6 or something, or
That's
6
right.
to 8 or something.
Yeah.
And you're still with that community. We want to talk a little bit about your lineage. Your Buddhism has a lot of different flavors.
Right.
Right? You have Zen, you have
Mahayana, Shambhala, Soto Zen, and so on. There's Chinese, Korean, Thailand. So Plum Blossom Sangha is a part of the Plum Village tradition, whose teacher is Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah.
So it has a Vietnamese root.
Which is Vietnamese Buddhism, is that Theravada?
No, Mahayana.
Mahayana
Zen.
Okay.
Right.
Thich Nhat Hanh is you said Thich Nhat Hanh? Is that Thich Nhat Hanh? Thich Nhat Hanh. Mm-hmm. And is he a Zen Buddhist?
Mahayana Zen.
Mahayana
Buddhist.
Zen.
Mm-hmm. So he came to being during the American-Vietnam War. Mm-hmm. And he kind of in response to the communist and the old Buddhist teachers in Vietnam, he became a rebel, kind of like the Buddha was, and he started his own congregation, I guess you'd say, Plum Village, and he ordained 6 people to be monks and nuns. And then it just grew from there. And so now there's monasteries all over the world. There's thousands of sanghas, like the one you went to, Plum Blossom Sangha. And there's there's thousands of monastics, thousands of lay people who are ordained. I'm a lay ordained lay person.
And so your lineage is Thich Nhat Hanh.
The Thich Nhat Hanh Plum Village lineage.
Plum Village.
So Thai, which is the Vietnamese word for precious, adorable teacher, or at least that's my definition. Thai died in 2021, and but in Buddhism, of course, nobody dies. You can't die. You've never been born, and you never die. So that's you, Phil. You never were born, and you will never die.
That's a brain teaser.
Well, that's because you're a Buddha, and we're all Buddhists. So actually, the 21st century scientists agree with that. So from nothing, you can't all of a sudden become something. So your mom and you were present in your mom and your dad, right? And they came together to form you. But in your dad, his mom and dad were alive in him, right? To form him. And your mom's mom and dad were and then their parents were in them and their parents. And so therefore, you have always been alive, which is why you can't be born, because you've always been alive. You see how that goes back?
Through like
half of you's in your dad, half is in your mom. And half of his mom and dad are in him.
So yeah, it just keeps on
keeps
going.
Up to beginningless time.
But we won't get to wake up and have breakfast at a certain point. And
that's your continuation days. So
this, when you're alive, is your continuation days.
Right. So that birthday, when is your birthday, Phil?
September 12th.
Coming up. On September 12th, you became we call it Happy Continuation Day instead of Happy Birthday.
Continuation Day.
Because you're continuing. You were in a different form.
Yeah.
You were in your dad's sperm and your mom's egg, so you were in a different form before. But now you're continuing in a new form, which looks like you now.
I look like this.
Yeah, this is how you look. And so therefore, you can't die. If you've never been born, you can't die. Because from something, you can't become nothing. Scientists say that. We're matter, and matter can't become nothing. Matter can become a different form of matter or energy. So therefore, when you die, you'll be you won't be sitting in front of the microphone like that anymore, unless we put you there.
Have in taxidermy.
They'll taxidermy you and put you there, which that's a possibility. You'll be in a different form. You'll
go into the earth or go.
Exactly. And your energy. So you're in me now. And you're in your children. Excuse me. And you're in your friends, and you're in these people watching this show.
Through the influence, or that they put their attention on us, we share.
And so when they turn off their machine, you're still there.
The imprint
of
our time together.
Exactly.
That influence or that imprint will carry us on.
Right. And so, also, therefore, we all are connected. All of us throughout space and time are connected. If you look at that big picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of trippy.
Well, so nothing is separate. So, yeah, I'm not separate from you. We appear to be,
That's
but
the illusion.
that's the illusion. Exactly, Phil. Right.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, first question, and you kind of already answered it. The first question I always ask people is, how would one fail at being a Buddha?
Well, the best way to fail at being a Buddha is to not believe that you are a Buddha.
To not believe.
That not to see the reality that you are a Buddha. If we're all interconnected, we're breathing the air the dinosaurs breathed. We're breathing the air the Buddha breathed, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Buddha is in you.
The Buddha's in us. The Buddha was always there.
Right. Just like you has
Right.
always been there.
So the way you fail at being a Buddha is not to believe you're a Buddha.
Right.
But aren't you still a Buddha even if you don't believe? You're just unaware
Right.
Buddha.
So when you fail at a job, aren't you still doing the job? You just aren't aware of how you're doing the job.
Yeah.
So it comes maybe down to awareness.
You're just not living your full Buddha potential.
Right. Well, yeah. Yeah.
No?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. You're it's so much easier to notice what things I don't do well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to think I'm not as good as it's a whole lot easier than saying to myself, I'm really good at
It's
this.
negativity bias.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
kind of like I had a girlfriend once who was getting married. She's a really beautiful woman. And she was getting married and she had a wedding dress on. And her mom came to her and said, for the first time in her life, now, Kay, I don't want you to get the big head, but you're really beautiful. And her mom had never told her she was beautiful. And she never thought she was beautiful. So that's what we do. We tell ourselves, I'm not beautiful. I'm too fat, or I'm too skinny, or I'm too old, or I'm too bald-headed, or,
Yeah,
So that means we're not noticing we're the Buddha.
Yeah. I was walking with my daughters last night, and my older daughter was saying she wanted to go running. And she said, well, she didn't want to run during the morning or during the middle of the day because people would see her and they would see how awkward she is when she runs and how ugly she looks when she runs. And I said, I don't think that's a thing. I think when I look at people running, I think, wow, those people are investing in their fitness. Those people are awesome and they're powerful and strong. And I never think that's an ugly person investing in their fitness.
Right.
And I thought, like, where did you get that?
Right. From our culture, right? From our stories.
I started to think, did I give you that download at some point?
It doesn't have to just be daddy and mama. It is, especially at this age, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the
peers.
culture. Yeah, peers.
Right.
She's like, I don't want my peers to see me out running. They'll think I'm ugly or awkward.
Right.
Or maybe I have a sweat on my forehead while I'm running.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do the same thing. We
Yeah.
all do the same
Yeah,
thing.
we do.
Right. I'm too, and fill in the blank.
Yeah, the person I spoke to yesterday called them self-limiting or self-defeating beliefs.
Oh,
I'm not good enough. I'm not
right,
worthy. I'm not pretty. I'm not lovable.
right.
No one likes me.
Well, the truth is, somebody is always prettier than you and smarter than you and a better Buddhist than you and kinder than you and there's always somebody who's
There's not an end of the line, the person that's the best, you don't think?
no,
No?
no,
Even no matter who it is.
no, because there's no other you. Do you see in this?
Oh, you compare, so you have ups and downs.
Right. So in this whole big universe, there never has been another Phil. Never has been another Phil Jones. Never is one now. He can have the same name, but there's never, it's really incredible to think about.
And with Buddhism, right, there's not even a Phil Jones.
Right. Because we all are one thing.
Yeah, we're all Phil
Connected.
Jones.
Right. We're all Phil Jones.
There's no self.
There's no separate self.
Right.
That's a big one to learn. That's the big one.
We did in the philosophy thing. We had one question of, can consciousness be explained? And I've been through with Nagarjuna and no self and all of this stuff quite a bit, and that's been a pickle.
Well, because we see that we are separate. So the way Thich talks about it is there's two dimensions. There's the physical dimension and there's the ultimate dimension.
He's talking about the two truths, the conventional truth and the absolute truth.
Yes.
And then one of them is this world where we're sitting across from each other talking.
Right.
And there's a Terry Cortes Vega, and there's a
Right.
Philip Jones, and there's microphones.
Right.
And there's another one where we're just balls, or what do they call them? Heaps of experience or energy.
Yeah.
And there's none of this stuff.
There's no separation.
No self. No
Right.
separation. Yeah.
No separation between you and me. No separation between the sun and you.
Well, and it's emptiness.
Emptiness of a separate self. Yes.
Emptiness.
And so the Buddha was such a revolutionary teacher that the story is told that when he taught that for the first time, we are all connected. We are empty of a separate self. The hearers, the monks that heard it, had heart attacks because it was such shocking news.
Yeah.
What we do instead is say, yeah, whatever. That's not true. I can see real clearly we're separate. Thich gives the example of the wave and the water. So you've heard that.
The ocean and the droplet of water, right?
No,
Or no.
the way he does it, the way he says it, but I'd like to hear that one too. The wave, you can see different kinds of waves. They come up, and he says one wave will say, oh, I'm not as pretty as that other wave. But if you look down, you're water.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not big waves, small waves, pretty waves, ugly waves. There's water.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we can understand how, yeah, there's a Phil and there's a Terry, but in essence, we're really one thing.
There's an ocean.
There's an ocean.
And we're all a part of
waves.
that ocean, and we're just some waves.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, second question. How does someone succeed at being a Buddha?
By not knowing you're a Buddha. I think that's the way.
The failure is not believing, and then the succeeding
is not believing.
Not believing is to fail. Well, how would you succeed?
It's when you think you are a Buddha.
When you know you're a Buddha.
Yeah, when you know you're a Buddha.
Is it enlightenment or something?
If you really knew you were a Buddha, then you wouldn't think you were a Buddha. But anyway, that's too much.
That'd be like the ego.
Let's talk about what happens when you think you are the Buddha.
What happens when you think you are the Buddha?
I think if you really see that you're the water, not the wave, which is what the Buddha is, if you really believe that, then you're just so happy. You're just so, there's no more, nothing's missing. That would be nirvana. There's no Phil, there's no Terry, there's...
Yeah. We're all in this together.
Right.
Do you think you still suffer?
Oh, sure.
Because suffering is because you have a human form.
Right. And you need to suffer in order to learn. Well, that's the first noble truth. The Buddha has those 4.
Yeah. To be a human is to suffer.
Right. So stop whining about it. Stop blaming it on that God or that man or that woman.
Because we all suffer.
We all suffer.
It's part of the human condition.
So we breathe, we eat, we poop, we suffer.
We suffer.
Yeah. There's gravity and there's suffering. So those are 2 aspects of reality. So don't fight it. Use it, is what the Buddha said.
How do you use your suffering?
Well, that's the second noble truth, is there are reasons you suffer. There are conditions that came together. And some are external, like it really is her fault. So there's external reasons, but then there's always internal reasons. So look at those conditions. Look at those reasons for why you're suffering. Are you grasping for something? Are you trying to be something you're not?
Attachment.
Attached to something? Exactly.
Grasping. What do they call it? Desire or want or...
Right. Grasping, desire, want, attachment. What is it? That's the second noble truth. Find out what the conditions are. And then when you find out what the conditions are, why I'm suffering, then go do something about it.
The third one is
do something about it.
You can free yourself from the suffering.
Exactly.
Isn't that the third one?
Yep, exactly.
Do something about it.
Duh. You found out why you're suffering. Now go do something.
Yeah.
It's really freeing. It's really liberating. Also, I can also see how it could also be like, ooh, not me. I want to give it to God, or I want to give it to Jesus.
Take the wheel.
Right. Right.
Instead of me take the wheel.
Instead of me taking the wheel. Right. So.
And then with Buddhism, we got all these lists.
Yeah.
In the 4 Noble Truths with another darn list. He doubles it on us.
Right.
And he says the Eightfold Path.
There you go.
Right? I just got done with this list, right. And you done double the list on me.
Right. That's
on number 4.
Right. Yeah. That's cheating.
That's cheating. I'm supposed to be at the end of this list.
Right.
And you just gave me another list. Right. Eightfold Path on number 4. Come on, Buddha.
Right. Come on. Give me a break.
You're swindling me. Right. I'm going to get to the end of that Eightfold Path, and I'm going to have, what, 32?
32 at the end of that one.
What the heck?
Exactly.
I'll be dead before.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And man, that really irritates people too nowadays. But I think the reason the Buddha gave all these numbers is so people could remember them, because nobody could take notes like you're doing.
Yeah.
Nobody could write anything down. No, they didn't even have phones in those days.
No, they had to put it on like a stone tablet or something.
They had to put it on a stone tablet.
And that took a long time.
The Buddha takes a long time to give those 4 noble, and then to add 8 more, and that stonecutter was.
Oh man, he's
really pissed.
Tendinitis by that.
That's right.
I'm gonna need another stone.
Hey Joe, bring me over another stone.
They probably had paper though, but
no, they didn't.
They didn't?
No. So all of it, they say that we could look that up. We could
look it up.
Google it. But they say that Ananda, his cousin, the Buddha's cousin, who was also his attendant, he could memorize. And I think in those days they could memorize things. So he would memorize the whole talk. And then he could give it himself to someone else, and they could memorize it and so on. It's like in the olden days when I was a teenager, I memorized all the phone numbers, all my friends' phone numbers, all my mom and daddy's phone numbers. I had all those phone numbers.
I memorized almost an entire album of the Beastie Boys.
There you go. We could memorize in
I could
those olden
memorize
days.
back in that day.
And
I
now
would
we
recite
can't.
it on the playground.
There you go. Can you
That
do
was
it
just
now?
like, I could probably, some of it.
Yeah.
I could probably do Paul Revere, one of the songs on there. But I was like Ananda, and
You're
the
like
Beastie
Ananda,
Boys were like the
the
Buddha.
Buddha. You have got it, child. You have
Dang.
got it.
So it was just a spoken.
It was just spoken and then passed down. So there could be some exchanges and
Little tweaks.
exaggerations and
Yeah.
turning the story more the way I would like it to go.
Ananda's
It could
like,
be
well,
some
like
of
I
that.
kind of like chocolate, not vanilla, so I'm going to change this story up a little bit.
Right. There could definitely be some of that.
Yeah.
There probably was some of that.
Probably was.
But he still probably gave those eightfold path and
Yeah.
four and the,
Eightfold Path is, do you remember them?
oh heavens, maybe.
Right speech,
Well, first of all, it's right view.
right view,
Right speech,
Speech,
right action, right
action,
livelihood.
livelihood. That's your job, your
Right,
profession. Yeah.
right.
Right. Livelihood.
And I think right meditation,
Okay.
concentration, insight. That's 7.
That's
We're
7.
missing one. Maybe right thought.
Right thought.
I don't know.
Is there one about sexuality, like right sexuality, or like?
No, but that's in the 5 precepts.
That's another list. That's right.
That's another list, but it's the big list. It's like Jesus or Moses and the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
It's like that.
I
And
see.
actually, it's almost exactly like that.
Oh.
Now, so I can say those 5. So the first one is have respect for life.
Respect for life. That's where we get veganism. That's where we get
Right. Don't kill. That's why in our family, we live out in the country. We have tongs that we pick up a scorpion with and put it outside rather
Scorpion
than
tongs.
smashing it.
Yeah.
Scorpion tongs.
I try not to. I try to have that same thing here at the house. My daughters sometimes they'll demand that I kill the insects. I'll catch them and I'll put them out
Right.
unless they, it's just.
It's a give and take kind of thing.
Yeah, I try to do that. Sometimes
Well,
they get there before me.
right.
And
So why do you try to do that?
I don't know. I don't want to. I just figure I want them to go about their business.
Right.
I don't. Why should?
I think we're trying to cultivate compassion. And so you can start with compassion for mosquitoes or scorpions or.
Hold on. Mosquitoes probably die immediately. I mean,
Okay.
but those little pill bugs or like lightning bugs that get in or
spiders
or mosquito wasps.
Oh,
No, the mosquito
those.
those big ones, the mosquito hawks.
Oh, okay.
I'll let them out. But
Yeah.
mosquitoes, like they get the
slap. Well, here's what I heard the Dalai Lama did, and I wasn't there, so I don't know. But the mosquito came and he shooed him away, and then or her away, and then the mosquito came, shoo it away. Mosquito came.
third time.
Third time's a charm.
He gave him 2 warnings.
The thing about these 5 precepts is that they're not if you don't do this, you are going to hell.
Right.
Or if you do swat that mosquito, you're going to hell. That's not it at all. The whole idea, Thai even names these 5 precepts the 5 mindfulness trainings. So we're training ourselves to be aware of what we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, so that then we can choose. Otherwise, it's a knee-jerk reaction.
Awareness.
So the first one is have respect for life. Don't kill. So you can, that's why a lot of Buddhists are vegans or vegetarians. But you can eat meat if you're, if you don't have another way of staying alive. It's not a commandment. It's not like, if you eat meat, forget it, you're not a Buddhist.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I've heard the Dalai Lama, who was raised in wherever he was raised, they couldn't grow plants. And so he ate meat.
Hmm.
So, yeah. But the North Star, the goal.
Yeah.
If the Buddha kept the goal down here low, well, then we wouldn't be growing very much. But the North Star is you don't kill.
Shoot for the stars, and if you just get to the moon, you're doing pretty good.
You're doing pretty good, darling.
Okay. What's number 2?
Number 2 is don't steal. Don't take things that haven't been freely given to you. Instead, be generous. Be generous with, like you are, be generous with your time. Be generous with your money, your stuff. But the biggest be generous is your presence. Be really present. Like you're doing right now. Be really present. That's the big gift. So the first is respect life. The second one is be generous. And then the third one is the one you mentioned earlier, your sexual energy. Use your sexual energy to help others. Be careful that you're not using your sexual energy to manipulate others or to have power over others. So you don't discriminate against the choices the sexual and gender choices people have made. It's their business.
Yeah.
We take care. We don't. You would put adultery in there too. You don't break up families because of your sexual energy. So you channel it to be kind, to be loving. True love is not lust.
Does it stop folks from doing all that kinky stuff they want to do?
No.
You can do all that BDSM and all the weird stuff, dress up like a rabbit or whatever?
I guess so.
That's okay.
Well, I would say if it's consensual.
Yeah, if both people are using their energy in
right, and you're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
Including not just the person you're with, but other people.
Yeah.
If
so you're not cheating. There's not a
right.
Yeah, everybody there. Yeah.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah. And these trainings have changed twice since I've been studying Buddhism. So they're organic. They respond to the times. So this one in particular, there was a time when that the training said that I will not have intercourse without a long-term commitment.
Like a marriage.
Right. But then there's people who weren't allowed in our country, in the many countries, to be married.
Yeah.
And so we realized that, and the monks, a committee of monks and lay people got together and rewrote the training a couple of years ago.
And said that they can have sex now.
Exactly. Well, made known, but it shouldn't be just a casual thing. So just to have sex, that would not be what this training is teaching us.
Like the bonobo?
What's that?
The bonobo, the monkeys, they have sex just casually?
Right. That would be not like that.
It has
you
to be...
would want it to be, because you're sharing an intimate part of your body, you would want it to be an intimate exchange.
Yeah.
Not, not just sleeping every night with somebody else.
I see.
Yeah, that would not be.
But it would allow for poly people if all of those, it could be multiple people if all those people had intimate.
Right.
Because, now we have polyamory.
Right. And you would still want it to not be a secret. So you would still want it to be something known to people who can accept your way of life.
Yeah. It's not something you're hiding from the
It's not
world,
that you're hiding. Exactly.
because that would probably mean you're ashamed of it or you're.
Right. The idea there is to not get mixed up with lust and love. So, love, as defined by the Buddha, includes compassion, loving kindness, joy, and inclusiveness. Those were the 4 elements of true love. So we work toward that North Star
Yeah.
rather than just enjoying a one sexual experience,
Yeah.
and then the next one, and then the next one. That because we know that that's not good for you. That's not going to make you happy.
Yeah. I think in my life I've had those experiences,
Yeah.
especially after I got divorced, because I felt like I didn't think I had value or something, or I thought that was like a way to find that
Right.
I was lovable or that I was worth something in our society by having those types of experiences, and they weren't that spiritual or that highest high or that.
And you get a little bit of happiness about this big.
Well, people would leave and I would cry.
There you
I'd
go.
sit there and feel the deepest loneliness I'd ever felt.
Right.
Were sometimes after some of those experiences, and I didn't understand that.
Right.
And I would just want another one.
Right. Because just that one little bit of happiness, we think, oh, that's it. But that's not happiness.
It's like you just touch on something that's powerful and then it goes away. You're really wanting something more than that.
Right. There's a big difference between lust and love.
Yeah.
Right. And we think we can put an end to our loneliness by connecting with somebody sexually,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't work. So therefore, that would not be part of this third training. This third training is when you open your body to intimacy, your body's not separate from your mind and
Right.
your heart. So be careful. Be careful with your sexual energy.
Yeah. That's number 3. We stayed on that a little bit longer because I think it's an exciting topic for everybody.
Yeah.
Sexuality.
Right.
Well,
And
it's one that I'm interested in. I've tried to figure it out myself.
And a confusing one, I think.
Yeah.
Because just like you can go have 4 pieces of chocolate cake and you feel really good, like, oh, that was delicious. But then later you feel horrible.
That's right.
So what the Buddha's trying to do is say, and sacrifice those little bitty weeny happinesses, and so that you can have the big ones.
Yeah.
And that's what that third one is. The fourth one is the one that's the hardest. The 4th precept, hardest for me, is right speech. Yeah, and deep listening. So in this training, we try to listen deeply, to be really present when someone's talking, not just be thinking, what am I going to say as soon as they shut up? Or not be thinking, ooh, that was stupid, or, oh, yeah, I agree with that. That we just stay open to listening, really, to whatever's said or not said, and noticing that. And that we use our words to help, to soothe, to bring comfort and joy. Not use our words to put people down or make ourselves feel smarter. So we don't gossip. We don't say one thing to one person and something different to somebody else. So I guess politicians would have a really hard time with this fourth training.
Yeah.
And then the fifth training is really funny because it's don't poison yourself. And the way you could poison yourself means something that helps you, that makes you lose your awareness, your mindfulness.
This is alcohol and drugs and stuff.
So you don't take alcohol, you don't take drugs. But the Thai also expanded it to mean also don't watch TV with a lot of violence.
It's content that's provocative or
Exactly.
you know what, I find myself, I don't watch horror films, but I'll watch crime documentaries, and I sometimes wonder if that type of content's good for me. And I'll wonder, why am I drawn to this?
Right.
What part of me wants
If
to hear
you
these
look at
stories?
Netflix, I think 90% of their shows are something about crime. So we're, I guess, interested in that. But what this fifth training would say is, don't consume violence that way,
Yeah.
because that's a way of consuming. Just like eating too much, drinking the wrong things, taking drugs, gambling, even conversations, having violent conversations.
Yeah.
Don't consume violence that way. Don't poison yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. And at the same time, the comedian in me thought, well, wasn't the Buddha just a goody-goody two-shoes?
Right. But I think what he says, now you're going to suffer, but here's 5 things that if you do these things, you're not going to suffer as much.
Right.
Each of the trainings, the way Thai writes them, begins with aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, or so on.
So one was life.
Right. Protect life. Don't kill.
Second one was generosity. Don't take something that's not freely given to you. The third one was the sexual energy. Be mindful of your sexual energy. Don't the fourth one was speech and listening, being present with folks.
Right.
And then the fifth one was the one we just talked about. Not be mindful of drugs, alcohol, and things that come into your awareness, into your system,
right,
and their impact
through your eyes, through your ears,
nose, mouth,
right,
all your senses. Yeah, because if we were a computer, our inputs, like on a computer, our inputs are the keyboard and the mouse, and sometimes maybe they got a video camera and a microphone. That's all their inputs.
Right.
And our inputs are our eyes, our nose, our mouth. We've got inputs too.
Our ears,
and
for sure.
And all that we consume through all of those, through our skin.
Right. Exactly.
And then in Buddhism, I think there's another sense that is the awareness of consciousness or thought.
Right.
So that's that. What are we consuming in our space there?
Right.
That makes sense. All those. The 5, what were they called? The 5 precepts?
The 5 precepts. Or in our tradition, they're called the 5 mindfulness trainings. Right. And they're like the 10 Commandments in a way, but unlike them in a way, because the Buddha said, don't pay attention to what I say. Don't listen to what any other teacher says. You go find out on your own. Learn from yourself. So these are not commandments. They're guidelines. The Buddha said, now these things work for me, and I think they'll work for you, to make your suffering less and to make your happiness more. You'll have more happiness if you'll be aware of these 5 things.
Yeah.
And so it's up to you. So we have a ceremony, a really beautiful formal ceremony handed down from the ancient times. There's chanting, and it's really beautiful. And in the ceremony, you could say, I want to receive the 5 mindfulness trainings. But you might decide, actually, I don't want to receive the first one. I'll just take the second, third, fourth. and
You
fifth."
can pick and choose.
Yes, you can pick and choose.
I'll take this one and that one.
Because I want to still eat meat, for example.
Yeah.
Or in the 5th one, oh, I still want to drink my glass of wine. And Ty says, pick the ones you want, because he knows that once you start working on the others, you will, of your own accord. It's your own discipline.
Yeah.
The Buddha didn't want to be a disciplinarian. He said, don't make a guru out of me.
Ty said that too, right?
Ty says the same thing. I'm not Ty. The focus isn't on the teacher.
It's the
focus
teachings.
is on the teachings and your own. You're the Buddha.
Yeah.
Listen to your Buddha.
The experience or the impact of walking the path.
Right. Notice. All you have to do, it's just mindfulness. That's the key. Just notice. Just notice what you're saying, and then decide, oh, is that something that was kind, or was that beneficial? Did that make me happy? I can give an example. My husband is from Mexico. He's real slow about everything. He does, when he washes dishes, he washes the glass on the inside and then the outside. Then he splashes it with the soapy water, and then he splashes it with not so soapy, and then he puts it in the rinse. And I'm, oh, please hurry up. But I say to myself, Gustavo, you're just doing that to make me angry. You're just, it's all about me. You're just doing it. But then when if I recognize what that's that 4th training, speech to yourself, the story you're telling yourself. So if the story you're telling yourself is not helping, so I say, if me getting mad about this help Gustavo? Will it make him wash dishes faster? Is it making me happy? Well, I guess I won't say it. I won't, I'll just learn patience. So it's all coming from me. Nobody's telling me now, you better not say those kind of things.
Yeah.
I have to, according to the Buddha, I have to say it. I have to be my own disciplinarian.
Yeah. You're in there having this kind of,
right.
You're aware of these thoughts and you're saying like, well, what's the impact of these thoughts, or how are they going to make my life better or worse? What is?
Yeah. And you decide, well, actually, I don't feel better, and he's not changing the way he's washing dishes.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. And then you have your grandmother who shared with you that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So then you think, well, does that meet the grandma test?
Right. It kind of does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right. If it's not helpful, then don't do it. But the whole big point there of these 5 precepts is that they're guidelines. These are what this guy who spent a lot of time trying to figure out what causes suffering and what causes happiness, he found out these 5 things, so you could try them.
Yeah.
And if you decide, well, I'm just going to still eat meat, but then you start focusing on, oh, I'm going to be really generous, then you think, ooh, am I being generous when I kill animals? Because, it just works on you.
It just works. Yeah, you'll work through all of
You
them.
work it. You work it on yourself.
That story with Gustavo made me think of I think it might have been in one of Thich Nhat Hanh's books where he says, why do you wash the dishes? Do you wash the dishes to
Right.
have clean dishes?
Right.
Or do you wash the dishes to have to wash the dishes?
Right.
Which one is it?
To enjoy the washing the dishes.
And he said, you wash dishes to wash dishes.
Right. Exactly. And wash dishes like you're washing the baby Buddha, so that you can enjoy washing dishes.
Yeah.
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 Gustavo and I were pulling weeds out in the yard. Gustavo's got a little spade and he's digging the roots out and he's pulling them out like that. I'm jerking them up. And I look around, I'm so tired of pulling weeds. I don't want to pull weeds anymore. Now, I'm going to try to do it the way Gustavo does it. So I get down there close to the roots and I pull it and I can feel the roots letting go.
Yeah.
And there's some pleasure in it.
Yeah.
And I think, oh my gosh,
It's kind of fun.
I could have fun doing this. If you're washing the dishes to get the dishes done, so that then that chore's over and now I can go watch TV, well, then you're not enjoying.
That's that happiness.
Right.
Success is happiness.
Exactly.
And that's transforming the suffering into pleasurable experience.
And every moment should be that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a trick.
Oh, man. That's true. Okay, let's see. I don't know what question we're on, but we're going to just zoom to fifth. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like being a dharmacharya. Like, what is your life like? What does that entail?
Well, I go to Sangha every Sunday night. And enjoy being with my Sangha. Lately, when the news has been so negative, I've just been so happy to know that I have a place to go where people are not mad at each other and where people are loving and fun and kind and happy. So I go to hang out. Sometimes I offer a teaching, and sometimes I offer a meditation, a guided meditation. But sometimes other people who are not teachers, but they're ordained lay people, they do those things. Invite the bell. We have a big bell. When there's a ceremony, only a dharmacharya can lead the ceremony. So I lead that 5 mindfulness training ceremony at retreats. I lead a retreat. I offer dharma talks and guided meditations. And Phil, that's the real joy for me, is studying. And so I'll study what I want to teach, and then I'll practice it to see if it works and to see what my take is on it. So I travel around. I go to different places to give retreats and to I also sponsor people who are wanting to be ordained lay people. Do you remember there were some people like Rhonda and Andrea who wore brown jackets? Well, after you receive the 5 mindfulness trainings and you work with those for a couple or 3 or 4 or 5 years and you decide this is really your thing, then you can ask to be an aspirant, and the aspirant is given a mentor and a Dharma teacher, and they work together to study and practice the Dharma, to personalize it, and then you want to serve the Sangha. So Rhonda and Andrea and Aaron and Kurt and Gail are all ordained, and so lay people, so they also teach. But I lead retreats and ceremonies and support people mentors and aspirants.
And you're going to prisons or jails?
I do that just because I want to. I've been doing that for about 30 years, 35 maybe years. Go teach meditation, and so I teach the inmates meditation, and also give them offer Dharma talks.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just talk about what their life is like. Like, how can you use these teachings when you leave this? We meet in the chapel. When you leave the chapel and you go back to your cell, how can you use this Buddhist teaching? If you can't use it, it's no good.
Yeah.
Let's don't waste our time here. How do you find time when you're in a cell with 50 men? You're in one big space with 50 men. How do you meditate? How can you do that? Where, when, like that?
Mm-hmm.
And then when someone comes up to you and wants to tell you all about the women they've had and want to have and women talk, what do? You don't want to consume violence and meanness. So what do? So, yeah, it's the same thing as we do at Sangha, as you know, because you've been.
Yeah.
When you come to Sangha, there's a sitting meditation and then a walking meditation.
How long? How long are you
A
sitting?
20-minute
20 minute?
guided sitting meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And then a 20-minute walking meditation, all of us walking slowly, just noticing our foot and like that, just slowing down. And then a 20-minute silent sitting meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And so then someone offers something for us to reflect on and share, just like I do at the jail. And so one of the teachings of the Buddha of Thai, and then we talk about our own experience with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we sing some songs, maybe. We have a band now at our Plum Blossom
There's a
Sangha.
band now?
Yes, you would like it.
I would like it.
Yes.
Goodness, I didn't know we had a
There's a
band.
juice harp and a ukulele and a guitar and
What?
a fiddle and drums.
I want to come be a part of this
Come be a
band.
part of it, darling.
Oh man,
It's fun.
I will. What does Dharma mean? You say Dharma talk. What is Dharma?
Dharma. So in Buddhism, there's 3 gems. There's the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha.
Mm-hmm.
So the Buddha is not Shakyamuni Buddha of 2,600 years ago, but Buddha means enlightened one, awakened one, the one who is awakened. So there's thousands. You're a Buddha.
I'm a Buddha.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, but the Buddha is usually the teacher. The Dharma is the Buddha's teachings. If it's spelled with a capital D, capital DHARMA, then it's the Buddha's teachings. If it's spelled with a little d, Dharma, then it's the reality. It's reality. It's what is true, like gravity, oxygen exchange with trees and people. It's so that everything can be a teaching, right? So this lovely fire in the fireplace can be a teaching, and the trees are teachings, the rivers are teachings. So Dharma means teaching, either from the Buddha or from everybody else. You're teaching me, I'm teaching you. And then the Sangha is the community that enjoys the Buddha and the Buddha and the teachings, the teacher and the teachings. And according to the Buddha and according to Thai, the Sangha is the most important part. It's the beloved community, as Martin Luther King said. It's where you really get the teachings from each other, from our sharing. It's really sweet. And you don't even have to say anything. You can sit in silent meditation. This really happens. You sit still and you just feel good. You just feel I know that sounds kind of woo-woo, like, woo. the energy. But yeah, it's true.
It's true.
You hang out with, yeah, people like that, and then afterwards we talk or something, but the Sangha is the most important part. The Buddha said that in one of his sermons.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think you guys have a really good Sangha.
We
I guess
do.
I'm a part of it. I just hadn't been showing up in a while.
Right.
Y'all moved down south.
We did, way south, yeah.
It used to be I could walk to it, and now it's a long drive. But
still it's available to
it's
you.
available,
And yeah.
and I will come.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
there's a church just around the corner here. You could go to that church too.
I could go to that church.
And there may be some of that same kind of peaceful, loving, happy energy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of people think of Buddhism as suffering, as studying suffering and being suffering. But the truth is, you get to know suffering so you can be happy. You get to know what causes suffering so that you can be happy. The real point of being a Buddhist is to learn how to be happy.
Yeah. When I was talking about this from a philosophic perspective through my philosophy book club, it seems like nihilism and Buddhism were really close. They're really comparable, except for Buddhism had a purpose, and that was to free yourself from suffering.
Right.
Because they both believe in emptiness. They both
right.
think, when the absolute truth, they're similar. Right. But with Buddhism, there's a purpose, there's a drive. We want to free ourselves from suffering.
Right.
Which then influences a lot of different types of behaviors and compassion.
So that we want to free ourselves from suffering so that we can be of some kind of use to other people.
Yeah.
So that I'm not causing suffering so much. I'm causing less suffering than I used to.
Yeah.
And I am. I recognize that. It takes time. But yeah. So that you're causing joy.
Right.
Really, joy is the focus.
Yeah. All right, that's the 5 questions.
Okay.